Hello and welcome to the Full Advisor Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Harrod. And today, for those of you who love to learn, you're going to be excited because we're going to talk about why it's okay for you to take those classes and get those credentials. Today, I'm excited to welcome Sean Walters. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Investments and Wealth Institute. Now, if you're not familiar with it, they've been around now 40 years. Celebrating the 40-year anniversary, and it's a premier professional membership association, educational provider, and a credentialing body for financial services professionals and advisors who serve high net worth clients. And I know a lot of you out there listening serve high net worth and ultra high net worth clients. So stick with us today. You'll be very excited. Sean, thanks for coming.
You bet, Kristen. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, now I was excited. I got to hear Sean speak at the FPA NorCal event. He was on a panel and they led a discussion around attracting high net worth and ultra high net worth clients. And it was really, really fascinating. So I tracked down Sean after the event to invite him to come on. Sean, I am really excited to have you here today. Before we get into it, I'd be really curious. I know you've been at IWI for almost 2 decades now, right? How'd you get into it? What brought you there?
Yeah, so I've been in nonprofit world pretty much since I graduated, and it's not really a career most people kind of head into. They kind of back into it, right? And so I got a job with the International Association for Financial Planning back in 1997 as director of membership. The IAFP was the original association for financial planning. Out of it spun the College for Financial Planning and the CFP program. And then fast forward to 2000, the IAFP and the Institute of Certified Financial Planners created the Financial Planning Association. So the conference you saw me at was one of our regional conferences way back then. And so in 2007, I came over to the Investments and Wealth Institute as Deputy Executive Director. At the time, we were called the Investment Management Consultants Association.
Oh, yes. I remember IMCA.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that. I did not realize that was the predecessor. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and another industry that went through a lot of change, right? Investment management consulting, not a lot of people know even what that means anymore, but so many of our members were earning the SEMA certification to better serve their endowments and foundation clients or their institutional clients. And but they learned that process, and who wouldn't want that level of care and diligence around portfolio construction for a family portfolio or for an individual client or a retirement plan? So IMCA really became an investment management specialized education provider that got into private wealth advice because that's a natural pivot. In 2008, we partnered with the Chicago Booth School to create a certified private wealth advisor certification. And that's really what led to our rebrand, is we weren't just doing investment management, we were doing wealth management as also. So investments and wealth. And then the last thing we added to our portfolio was the retirement management advisor certification. So we kind of now offer all those mid-career advanced credentials to advisors who are kind of 3-5 years into their journey as an advisor, looking how to specialize within a firm or a practice. We also do a lot of conferences and online ed, and but that's really our predominant focus.
Oh, fascinating. And you've been at the helm for a while now and charting the future here. So that's exciting. Hey there, it's Kristen. Quick break. If you're enjoying the show and you want more, head on over to fulladvisorcoaching.com/resources. You can download the toolkits that I have there and join the free insider community. You'll be the first to hear about new trainings, fresh podcast episodes, and I share with you real-world strategies that I see working for advisors right now. That's fulladvisorcoaching.com/resources. Go sign up. It's completely free. And now, back to the show. Where is it that you're joining me from? I'm not sure where you're headquartered.
So Denver is the headquarters.
Oh, you're out in Denver. Okay.
Yeah, Investments and Wealth Institute. And for some reason, a lot of us advisor associations started off in Denver. CFP Board of Standards was there, and for a lot of years, College for Financial Planning was there. FPA ended up they have their headquarters there too. So yeah, it's must be in the high air. There's a lot of...
I know something about that altitude. So one of the things I talk about a lot is obviously business development and marketing. We talk a lot about that. That's my background, my specialty, the services I offer advisors. And one of the big questions and kind of the stumbling blocks or obstacles is really how do you attract in those clients who are wealthy individuals, who are high net worth, who are ultra high net worth. And so I know you don't have all of those answers either. We're always trying and testing and seeing what works, but I want to talk about like what you're seeing among the high net worth and ultra high net worth clientele, and just kind of what you're seeing that's helping or working for advisors, and kind of how your credentialing fits in there too.
Yeah. Let me answer your question, and then I got a story on it too, a quick story. But I think it's still very much referral-based business, especially among high net worth clients. They talk to their golfing buddy, or they're hanging out at the salon with their friend, and they're talking about the advisor they're using, and that's how they end up, finding someone. So referral business is huge, and a lot of advisors are coached now to make sure you ask for referrals, right? It's not a bad thing to say, tell your friends about. If you're happy with me, tell your friends about it.
Right.
And I'd say there's another aspect that's coming into play is just, the role of information that's available online and social media. So much of the younger client base, which isn't even that much younger anymore, millennials are 40 plus now. So they're learning about advisors through social media and researching them online, whatever listings they have, going to Broker Check, going to investmenthelp.org, wherever they're going to, they're researching and gathering data online. It's not just enough that Kristen really recommended you, and so here I am in your office now, right? Tell me about you. Like they learn about you before they show up. So I think that's an interesting one. But the third one, which you'll see is definitely something I'll bring up again, is, make the referral happen through the services you offer. And that's the story I have. It's one of my favorite CPWA success stories was this guy in Texas who earned his CPWA. Like 2 months later, he had a client that was going through a small business sale, relatively small for a mid-sized business. And he learned something from Steve Siegel's section about a box that should be checked on that sales agreement. And he ended up counseling his client to do that. Well, in this business sale, it amounted to a $10 million increase in the amount of money that he got through that sale.
Oh, my goodness.
And so you don't think that's going to become the story he starts to tell as part of that referral. And so I think one of the most important things that an advisor could do is drive that value first and foremost.
Right.
What is it, the old adage in PR, do good things and then talk about it, right?
Yes.
First, you got to do good things. And so I think the fact that he was able to deliver that value and then ask his client for referrals, oh man, that client's going to follow through for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And to your point, they have a story to tell.
Yeah.
They have something very tangible that people can understand, and it's going to attract in someone very similar to themselves who's also going through a sale, who's also having a major financial event where you're talking about millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference. I do want to back up and just do a few definitions because we hadn't really talked about it. Let's CPWA, let's just state what that is.
Thank you. Certified Private Wealth Advisor is certification. Right. It's a voluntary standard for financial advisors with 5 years experience or more. They go through an executive education program at Yale School of Management or Chicago Booth or with us. then and that's pretty intensive. It can be 4 days or it can be 3 months online, whichever. Then they come back to us for the test, and we examine them, and that's how you earn the certification.
Wonderful. That's helpful. And another question is, and this is probably a little more murky, how do you at IWI define high net worth or ultra high net worth, just so we know where we're landing?
Yeah. So when we do a job analysis on a certification, we go out to the field and ask, this is the way all professional certifications should work, by the way. If you were doing a podcaster certification, you would want to ask 1,000 podcasters, what are the minimum knowledge and skills you need in order to be a certified podcaster, right?
Oh, yes.
And so similar with private wealth advice, financial planning, investment management analysts. So when we ask private wealth advisors, what is that threshold for when you see a client becoming high net worth? The most predominant threshold is 5 million and up in household net worth.
Okay.
Because they can have more or less investable assets depending on their situation. They might have a closely held business like the guy we just talked about from Texas. So
Right.
a lot of different things can trigger that, and household net worth seems to be the best metric for that.
Okay. That is helpful. I know people talk in many different measurements, but the 5 million and above in household net worth is what you as an IWI is kind of looking at that. And so as you're talking about that, you mentioned the survey with the firms and how you should go out and ask if you're going to create a certification. Talk about that, because I thought it was really fascinating in your NorCal presentation where you talked about how what you're teaching or what the curriculum is can shift as you're doing these surveys and as the marketplace is changing. So it's not just like, well, we set it up 40 years ago and this is how it is, you know?
Yeah. Like, so we, and actually licensure bodies do this too. So FINRA does it. NASA will do that with their examinations. It's basically going out to the practice. It's also called a practice analysis or a job task analysis. And you're evaluating all the tasks within a job. How important are they? How relevant are they today versus 3 or 4 years ago? And so you're always able to update your body of knowledge and what you test based on that. And where I brought it up in the session was talking about high net worth clients. You know, we had a lot of data we were presenting about what they want and need. And then I showed, as you recall, Kristen, there's just what's changing in the job of private wealth advisor based on our analysis. And family dynamics was one of the biggest things that jumped up, like almost 5 points, which is a big percentage on 100%
right,
exam.
Exactly.
5% is a big shift. And so family dynamics is one of those aspects of, or skills or competencies that advisors really need to be, up in their game on, because that's more important now than it was 5 years ago.
Right. And does that get into conversations around generational wealth transfer, about bringing in the next generation earlier into the conversations?
Yeah. And just the challenges that go with that, right? I mean, the nature of communication between the generations is different, more complex perhaps, or at least requires more time and effort on the part of the advisor to navigate that. So a lot of what we teach and test is building family governance plans, building governance systems within high net worth family structures. A lot of family offices do this pretty well, because it is almost the whole game there, trying to keep everybody on the same page. And, and so, that's definitely one of the aspects of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see more and more advisors, as they're talking about the multifamily office model has come into play, which is kind of in that middle zone of, above high net worth, but not quite the sole family office, but that serving at that level. And this governance, family governance and communications and conversations comes up again and again. So it is definitely something I can see why the credential or the training would shift that way.
Yeah.
It is interesting too, when you think about the shift in just the advisory marketplace, how more advisors, how independent and fiduciary advice and comprehensive advice are. It's definitely growing and shifting. And I believe I remember that from your presentation as well, is just the shift there. Yet there's that interesting finding, of course, that high net worth and ultra high net worth clientele have their trust in big known corporate brands.
Yeah.
So how do we deal with that? How do we stand out against the big, as independents, how do we stand out against
that was an interesting brands? That was an interesting finding. That Cerulli was one of the co-presenters to the listeners that are wondering. I mean, it was a Cerulli finding that showed as high net worth went up, a lot of the big brands tended to be used more. And it's no surprise that when you look at the total assets under management by all 300,000 advisors in our industry, the big five wirehouses still have the predominant share of that, even though the fastest growing AUM channels are independent RIAs. And I think some of that is access, right? Their wirehouse is another term for full service brokerage. So they've got banking to offer. They've got trust services to offer. They can do a full multidisciplinary offering. And that's going to be appealing to an ultra high net worth and high net worth client. Again, a quick side story. Part of my job is going and selling our certification programs and education solutions to these big firms. And I visited UBS in Manhattan just about a month ago, and I got to meet with the executive in their ultra high net worth suite. So it's all glass. There's a personalized tea setting at the center of the table. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Even walking in the base of the building, and you know how Manhattan can be, you got to clear security to get up the floor. There was a special welcome area with a waterfall and tea service and sparkling water. So if you think about it, these firms, UBS, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, they're very used to working with uber wealthy individuals on banking, let alone brokerage or financial advice or financial planning and private wealth advice. So they kind of have it down, and it's an easier process for them to just retain that client. So I'm not proposing that RIAs go and install waterfalls in their foyer.
Interesting.
But there is a lot there to thinking through how the high net worth customer thinks, feels, what they want, how they expect to be treated, and trying to build that into your client onboarding process. You know, all of that you have to really think through from the client journey all the way through.
Right. No, 100%. And I think you hit the nail on the head there with thinking about the client journey, right? Like who are your clients and what kinds of businesses are they in? And is that, you know, I often hear, well, our clients are more blue collar. They're in different kinds of businesses. They don't want big and flashy like that, but there may be a fundamental, still an innate trust behind, okay, at least I know there's a lot of people there. It's a public company. It's this. I know they're going to be watched over.
Yeah.
Not quite sure who this person down the street is. Seems like a nice guy or gal, but not totally sure, you know? So how can we bridge that gap? Because you and I both know that the competency and the intention and the skill level of all the independent RIA out there, you know, and the personal touch can supersede or at least meet the same kind of service offering. Yeah. I mean, great, wonderful advisors in the field. How can we shine more light on what they're doing and how they're doing it? And what can we do?
Yeah, I could probably boil it down to more simplicity of two things. I would say one is us horizontal teams. Like, even if you're not able to necessarily build out, acquire another practice or combine practices with your RIA competitor down the hall,
down the street.
I mean, just think about collaborative models. Financial planners have been good at that for 50 years they've been doing that, right? That is the origin of financial planning, was bringing the estate planning attorney into the client room, or the CPA partner, the allied professionals. Those soft collaborations go a long way for one. But if you are able to start to build out less of a vertical structure within your team, like I'm the rainmaker, so-and-so's my junior planner, then I've got think more horizontally and give equity to 2 junior planners who have some succession planning rights in the organization. That's where these team structures are moving, and horizontal structures are better able to capture more assets and better serve high net worth client. The data is clear. That's one. I'd say related but similar is then building out those high net worth services. Charitable planning, closely held business. I mean, this is definitely part of my stump speech, because we offer education and certifications around those bodies of knowledge. But, I don't, from a client standpoint, you can get that in a lot of different places, not just us, but you have to be able to bring more services to the table to compete with the UBS experience and the private banking experience these high net worth clients are getting pitched for elsewhere.
Right. And I know some like alternative investments comes up, private equity, things like that, where people they want something besides the model portfolio. And so it's very interesting, because I do hear more and more of my, especially multifamily office type clients, where they're saying, hey, we're talking alternative investments. We're looking, they're coming in asking about other real estate holdings, various things that they can do. And, they've had to either partner or gain knowledge on that, which the ones I'm seeing succeeding are doing that. They're saying, we know this is important to the audience, therefore we're going to bring that in-house in some form or fashion. So
and
I think that's really important.
We did a job analysis on the Certified Investment Management Analyst certification, CIMA, in 2024, and private markets, alternatives, even crypto, which was part of that asset class or considered part of it. So that exam weighting went up by about 4%, just because more and more clients are looking for expertise in alts. And then the other thing that went up with CIMA had to do with the evaluation of TAMPs and model portfolios. So a lot of advisors, a lot of the listeners out there think, well, I'll just outsource my investment management to a TAMP or to an asset manager who's putting together model portfolios for my clients. I'll focus on the relationship. I'll focus on the planning. That's a totally legitimate strategic approach. But you have to know, if a blue pill rolls down that chute and you feed it to your client, you need to know what's in that medicine that you're prescribing for your client, because that's what they're paying you for. And so, so I think you're absolutely right. To tie that together with what you said, there was a financial planner I saw somewhere. He was either on a stage or on a video screen, say, don't recommend to your clients things you don't understand yourself. And I am sure the clients think that's a great idea, and other advisors do too. But as someone who just watches the profession, as do you, Kristen, I mean, think of the implication on that. That's like saying if you go to the doctor and they don't know enough about medicines they might prescribe for your issue, they just won't prescribe anything, or they'll just give you aspirin, right? Because that's what they know. And so I think again, it comes back to the services that you offer have got to expand. If you aren't going to learn those, bring on team members who can, incentivize them to go out and become a CFA or learn that investment side of the business so that they can really help you deliver higher end, more sophisticated investment solutions to your clients.
That's fascinating. It just reminded me, I had my own RIA back in 2006 for 8 years. But when I started, I did solely financial planning for new and expectant parents, families with young children. But I also got my health and life insurance. I took the exam, right? So I'm like, well, they'll need life insurance, right? Because they're this, and it'll give me at least something if I want to offer that. But I realized very quickly I didn't really have an interest in selling any products, but I was like, well, they're going to need that. But then I thought to myself, well, I don't actually want, even though I could sell term insurance, I felt like if I were going to offer insurance solutions to my clients, I'd want to focus on that 100% so I understood what the best options are and why they might do a whole life or not. And I didn't have the knowledge, drive, or interest. And so I did partner with an outstanding, I had a few different insurance people depending on, personality, service offering, et cetera.
Yeah.
But I just remember thinking to myself, I don't want to have to learn what I know I need to know to be able to comfortably
that's really
sell this service. And it was interesting because it's, obviously a whole different situation. You're like, well, it's term life. Who cares? But I'm like, no, I care because I don't understand all of the differences in a way that I could explain it to the degree that I need to know. I know protect the risk. I don't know all the specifics.
That's a great, that's a great story. You don't do something unless you're going to do it really well.
Right.
And I think it ties to one of the questions you asked earlier about small brand versus big brand. At the end of the day, clients trust the advisor. They trust the advisor, and the advisor is a personal brand. If I work with Kristen as my RIA, Kristen, you are the brand.
Right.
The expected experience is my favorite definition of a brand, is the expected experience.
Oh, I love that.
And so
writing that down. Okay.
So and Michael Kitces has said quite a bit, the only capital investment that you have to worry about as an advisory firm is between your two ears, right? You've got to invest in what's going on there because that ultimately is the new machine you're installing for your clients. And to your point, you got to decide if insurance is going to be it. Alts may not be it. You may want to partner with another firm that can really help, your clients understand the different investments that are out there.
I know a lot of advisors also will partner with like a business valuation specialist who can really help their small business clients understand what is their business worth and really dig in and get under the hood and help with value acceleration. Some advisors want to get in and take that on and offer that as a service. Others are like, you know what, I'm going to focus on the personal financial plan, that element and managing the money, and I will bring in that service or partner with someone, or we'll have someone on the team. So I'm seeing the theme here.
Yeah.
How do you see, obviously you have your finger on the pulse of the high net worth and ultra high net worth. People who are getting the CPWA, for example, is there a certain way that they could then market that, or is it simply letters after your name? Like, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, because one of the things that has happened in our industry that doesn't happen in other industries is the expectation that clients should just know what the letters behind your name, reveal about you as a personal brand. And CFP board has made a lot of money and done a great job, focusing on that value proposition that advisors want so badly. But if you think of any other profession outside of accounting, that really isn't an issue. Physical therapy, they've got their gold standard. None of us know what that is. Public relations, gold standard. Most of us don't know what that is. So every profession has a voluntary certification that is letters, but then it's up to the professional to explain why that is valuable to the employer, to their coworker, to their client, in this case, their client. I think that's why the horizontal team model can work really well, is you come to a client saying, hey, I'm just going to pick on our certifications, even if it's self-promotion. We've got a retirement management expert who's on this team. We've got an investment management expert who's going to be doing your portfolio. And we have a private wealth advisor expert who's really focused on a lot of the more sophisticated aspects. Because you're a high net worth client, you've got estate planning, charitable planning, closely held business issues. So we bring all of that to the table. Now, should they all have CFPs? Yes, they should all be certified financial planners, because they are doing financial planning, but they're offering more services on top of that. And I think that's where a lot of the big firms and banks are able to edge out competition, is because we're doing a lot of business with them, and they're putting through team members, and they're assembling those horizontal multidisciplinary teams on that front.
Right. Oh, it's fascinating. I can see that. I can see exactly how that works. And obviously doing, being a fractional CMO, I'm working with these firms and saying, sometimes the very fundamental is, well, does anyone know what that certification is? I'll see advisors with multiple letters after their names. I'm like, it looks impressive, but let's try to, let's break that down, And I see that with like the CDFA, Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. I may have gotten that wrong, but I think that's right. But it's like, okay, why does it matter that you work with someone who has that? Why do you, consumer, need to know about this? And it's, to your point, the CFP board has, done a lot of that work for us and charged us accordingly. Anyway, they are doing their advertising and getting the CFP brand out there, which is really helpful for like trying to let consumers know. But I do think the onus is on the advisors and the firms to say, hey, this is something, one of our differentiators, and not to say, you might be like, well, a lot of people have that. Well, tell us why in the context of your firm and your offering and the client problem that you have, why having this credential matters to the client.
To their end. Yes, exactly right. To the client outcomes and the client objectives they've articulated. How does this help that? So it's you're a marketing person. It's value proposition 101.
Yeah. Yeah, and, exactly.
And so.
Well, this is really exciting. I love learning about this. I love your stories. I like everything you're sharing around this. I know you offer a bunch of conferences. What do you have learning opportunities? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, we do a conference most years in New York City called the Strategy Forum. That's November 16th and 17th, and 18th in at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square. So love to if any of your listeners reach out and I can get them a promo code and we can get them discounted access to that if they want.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes, but I know that's a pretty big event that happens. At that event, what kinds of what's the objective? What are they going there to learn? What's your focus?
It's by and for advanced practitioners. So we tend to, we say there's no 100 level sessions here.
Oh, and, great. Okay.
Some of the general sessions that are already lined up, Dan Ariely, behavioral economics guru, Chris Gazy from Wharton, who really is big on alternatives, but is also leading their behavioral finance lab now. So he's fusing alts and behavioral. That'll be interesting to see what he comes back with. And then Dr. Emma Sapala. Emma is psychology professor at Yale, and she does a lot on stress. And so how do you de-escalate your own stress levels? How do you work with clients on that? So some cool stuff.
Oh, I want to go to that session. That sounds fab. I love that kind of.
She has them. We've had her before, and she actually, I was worried about it because we got, you know how advisors are. Yeah. But she had to meditate for like 3 minutes during the session. And it went really well. She got super high scores. So. And it wasn't even a California conference. I was surprised.
I was going to say, I'm like, what? We do that on a Monday here. That's anyway, I'm out, obviously I'm out in California, but I think that's great. And I think when people, I think when you are doing advanced learning, especially people who, many advisors who are getting credentials in advanced credentials, they're open-minded, they're growth-oriented, they're saying, let me learn something new. And I'm pleased to hear that you do offer quite a range of content and opportunity there, because I do think people overlook the mental and emotional side of all of this. And it's not only for yourself as the advisor, but also as you're talking about that focus on family dynamics and helping
that's a
higher net worth.
You gotta know
it's all about people, right? We know that technology can support. AI, people worried about AI coming in, people worried about technology, when it's like, well, ultimately you need to work with a human, and you're dealing with human and emotional issues, especially as you move up the wealth chain of like complexity.
Yeah.
And, it never hurts to keep learning and advancing yourself.
Yeah. Mo money, mo problems, right?
Exactly.
People problems too. So.
Well, this is very fun. I love chatting with you. Really interesting insights. I encourage everyone to check out the conference, to check out IWI and the offerings you have. Tell us your URL so we can.
It's simply investmentsandwealth.org.
.org. Got it. Okay. So we'll put that in the show notes too.
Yeah.
And Sean, I hope to see you in person again soon. And I thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Kristen. It's great. We had a lot of fun.
Great. And for those of you who are interested in learning more about how you might be able to market your credentials, bring more of your value proposition to your audience, feel free to reach out to me. You can go to fulladvisorcoaching.com. You can hit the request a call button in the upper right corner, and we can have a conversation. And once again, any kind of liking or reviewing this podcast is always helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in. Go out and make it a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to Full Advisor Coaching, the podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the follow button so you'll never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can become a part of the Full Advisor community, visit fulladvisorcoaching.com. Remember, stay connected and get notified as soon as brand new episodes release. Click the follow button now. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Kristen Herod or Full Advisor Coaching.